I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge of the flag, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about that. Very good. Minutes of the September 2nd, 2015 meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? So moved. We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Financial report and payment of the bills. Do we have a motion to approve the financial report and payment of the bills?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. I called today and talked to Steve about there was $6,200 paid to the Elkton Alliance. And Mr. Mayor, you and I talked about that briefly at the beginning. And I can talk about it now, or I can talk about it in the my report. I don't agree with it. The mayor has explained what it's all about. I don't know, again, what protocol is and what I'm used to are two different things. So it's protocol that we discuss it now, and please, if you would, explain what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back, maybe 4 months ago, I met with Mr. Eric Schwab that owns the building next to the chicken and pizza facility there on Main Street. I met with him because I had an idea of moving forward with a kind of a co-op venue again, very similar to what the Elkton Alliance did with the Page and a Pallet many years ago. I have a goal in attempting to fill these places up on Main Street as quickly as we can, and part of my thinking is if we can get these things leased one way or the other with co-ops, because well, let me just kind of end by saying in a co-op direction. So for the last 4 months, actually 3 months and 2 weeks, I've been going back and forth with Mr. Schwab about this, and he hadn't had any action. He had a couple people that he said that he was real close to getting a couple restaurants in, with no success. Blamed it on a little bit of the, he blamed a little bit on it, on maybe some of the loitering that goes on, of course, in the town. But he called me about 2 weeks ago, and he stated he had the property leased, and the property being leased to a permitted business, or permitted, not a business, a permitted, it was a permitted use on Main Street. And he kind of put me in a position that it was either we're going to do something with it, or he's going to put this permissible use in. So I met with Larry Krause, president of the, or the vice president of the Elkton Alliance, and also Roger Owens, the president of the Alliance. And we talked about this, and we made a decision that the Elkton Alliance was going to lease this spot for several different reasons. The merchants recently, meeting before, also needed a place for doing their Halloween days and their what it was a Santa Claus program. So we were going to move forward with that. I can tell you I got pushed into a corner a little bit with this. I wasn't prepared to have to make that move, but we went ahead and made that move. I spoke to Commissioner Jablonski, Commissioner Piner, and I believe I even mentioned it to Commissioner Gibbons. And I do apologize to you for not mentioning it to you. But we individually, not as a group, I felt as though I had their blessing, and The Elkton Alliance moved forward with leasing that property, not the town of Elkton. But I did state that this was going to come out of my economic development money that we budgeted. And that's the bottom line of it all. Now, I will tell you that in the last 2 weeks, we have been able to have two really hot tenants that will be able to take over this agreement. And I feel very comfortable with both of those. So that's the story about the check for $6,200. It was a deposit and several months rent.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's a few things I have few things that I have as far as paying the $6,200. And I do want to preface this with again, everything that I'm saying is strictly business. None of this is ever personal. But with Ms. Jablonski being a part of the Elkton Alliance, I believe that her decision in that should not have been done, that she should have been recused on that. And also, if you just mentioned it to Commissioner Givens, then that means there would only be 2 people.
And myself.
And yourself, which still would be Mr. Piner, Commissioner Piner, and yourself. Then on top of that, it goes past the thing that we all have talked about as far as transparency, of being completely open, and in that, of course, that honesty comes along with it. And then on top of that is certain rights, in my opinion, certain rights have been violated to the taxpayers that voted, particularly for me, to represent their voice. And again, these things seem to be happening more and more and more. And just to arbitrarily do something like that, I don't believe that government should be propping up businesses. And I mean, there's nothing that I can do about it now. I hope in the future that you know, everything is truly to the definition of transparent, as we all say that it should be. So as I do need help with this, Louis, that the vote is going to be to accept or to pay the bills. How do I accept everything except that? How do I vote that way? Just no, or exclusionary, or just vote no?
You're authorizing the payment of the bills with, and you can say with the exception of
Fair
one
enough.
bill. I mean, that's your right to say that.
Sure, I just want to know again.
Because you're not going to oppose paying bills that are rightfully.
I absolutely agree with you. Fair enough. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Any other discussion? Do you want to amend the motion?
You're fine.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
In favor except for that one bill. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Okay, we've got 4 budget amendments. Steve Repo, you brought these to the board, and I think that they're all to clean up 2015.
That's correct.
But I'll let you explain to the board. You explained it to me a little bit today, and it's just something to finish up the previous
That's
fiscal.
The first budget amendment is budget amendment number 2015-014. Again, these are all for last fiscal year, the year which ended 6/30/15. It is to budget $10,257 from the fund balance into Mayor Fisher's employee awards in the amount of $5,923, into community promotions in the amount of $309, and mosquito control in the amount of $4,025.
And that was, so we'll go ahead and move. Do we have a motion to accept budget amendment 2015-014?
I'll make a motion to accept budget amendment 2015-014.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next one?
Second budget amendment is number 2015-015. It is the budget $29,071 out of the fund balance into administration salaries in the amount of $21,325. Administration FICA account in the amount of $1,632. Into the administration health insurance account, $5,731. and into the administration pension account, $383. In addition, recognizing annexation advertisement revenue in the amount of $7,241 to be budgeted in administration advertising expense in the same amount, $7,241.
Do we have a motion to approve 2015-015?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Quick discussion real quickly. When you use the word fund balance, that was the fund balance that was already budgeted. It's not taking any more additional fund balance.
That's correct. The only time fund balance is hit is when your expenditures exceed your revenue. This is strictly a budgeting tool. This is not creating any more or less expenditures greater than the amount of revenue received last fiscal year.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next one is budget amendment number 2015-016. Is to budget $84,507 from anticipated fund balance into Department of Public Works overtime in the amount of $9,601. Department of Public Works snow and ice removal in the amount of $74,906. Is to recognize $110,527 of the fund balance that is reserved for highway user revenue into Department of Public Works street paving in that same amount, $110,527. Is to recognize $8,400 of the fund balance for forest conservation into the expense account tree service in that same amount, $8,400.
Do we have a motion to approve budget amendment 2015-016?
I'll make a motion to accept budget amendment 2015-016.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Last one is budget amendment number 2015-017, is to recognize $65,999 in the Delmarva Energy Savings Grant into expenditures for capital expenses under municipal buildings in the same amount, $65,999.
Do we have a motion to approve budget amendment 2015-017?
That's so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Lou, you were on.
You don't have to sign these. The first item I have under my agenda is the proclamation P19, 2015. We had a gentleman that requested that the board consider in God we trust as confirmed the motto of the United States. And as a result, we developed this proclamation, and I'll read it. Whereas Francis Scott Key included the words, "And this be our motto, in God is our trust," when he penned the Star-Spangled Banner on September 13, 1814. And whereas "In God we trust" was first used by the 125th Pennsylvania Infantry as a battle cry on September 17, 1862, during the Battle of Antietam in the American Civil War. And whereas on July 30th, 1956, President Dwight David Eisenhower signed Public Law E-4-140, declaring "In God we trust" as our nation's official motto. And whereas in 2006, on the 50th anniversary of its declaration, the United States Senate reaffirmed "In God we trust" as our nation's motto. And whereas in 2011, the House of Representatives passed a resolution reaffirming "In God we trust" as our nation's motto. Now therefore, the Mayor and Commissioners of the Town of Elkton hereby join in affirming "In God we trust" as our nation's motto on the eve of its 60th anniversary, as well as recognizing that the freedom of all citizens to believe as they wish shall forever be preserved.
Do we have a motion to approve proclamation P19-2015?
That's so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion on the proclamation? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item I have is ordinance 6-2015. Copy of this has been sent to the board as well as council. was discussed at the workshop. Basically, it's a loitering ordinance with respect to commercial property and on town's public property. This ordinance will prohibit certain idling, remaining, or tearing or collecting on both commercial property and on parking lots or other public property once a resolution's been enacted to restrict the access to those areas in certain hours or days, as well as certain conduct. The loitering requires, the conduct requires the owner of commercial property to give notice to a person who is in violation of this ordinance, or they become in violation of this ordinance if they disregard a notice from the commercial property owner to leave, or as directed by the Elkton police, or a police officer actually. A violation of this is a misdemeanor, and the misdemeanor carries a penalty of $250 fine or imprisonment for a period of 60 days or revoked. The prohibited conduct with respect to being on parking lots or public property is declared as an infraction, and the violation of this would be a fine of $100 for first offense and $200 for each subsequent offense. Given the circumstances under which this ordinance has been discussed, I would recommend that the board adopt it at this time for introduction. Or
Very
accept
good.
it for introduction.
Do we have a motion to accept ordinance 6-2015 loitering for introduction?
For introduction purposes, I make the motion.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion on the ordinance introduction?
Yes, other than the owner, and of course you just mentioned it, and we discussed it in the workshop where EPD can make an active move on it. Does there have to be a sign anywhere around for that individual standing to
No.
acknowledge? It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
If you have commercial or any private property that's posted, then it can be a trespass under a state statute is a violation, not under this particular ordinance.
Just curious, how would someone know that law's in place if they're not from around here, or?
No, this is only if you're on a commercial property and the owner asks you to leave, and you won't leave, then you're in violation. If you leave, you're not in violation. So it'd be like somebody coming on your property and they conduct business, but they just hang around. You say, we'd like you to leave, and they refuse to leave. Then you're in violation.
That's where the question he asked was, where their sign needed to be posted.
Wasn't there a second part of that I read about public property, though, right?
Yes, a parking lot or public property, if the board decided they want to close a parking lot between, let's say, 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., and it's posted that you can't be there or do certain things on that, play music or things of that nature during that period of time, then a police officer can act and ask people to leave, and if they don't leave, they're subject to a civil infraction.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item is the courts. I think the board discussed this ad infinitum. Probably want to make a decision this evening about how they want to address it. I think that the engineer, Todd Fry, at the last meeting suggested a number of alternatives, one being post a number on the curb that will identify a property close, a proximity of a parking spot closest to someone's residence. I think in some places there will be only one, and in other places there will be two, depends on the number of spots. I think if we do this, we need to have the overflow parking in place. Obviously, there is one overflow parking currently, but there's one planned for close to the 100 block and one to the 500 block. And when they're constructed, we'll have adequate additional parking available for overflow parking. So if the board wants to pursue it as a number, then we can look into it, we can pursue it that way, or if they want to do a special purpose parking with a sticker, or however you ever want to do it.
Well, I'll shoot this up there. Do we have a motion to approve it by numbering the curve for the resident?
I make the motion, that is this the one spot. Okay.
I will second that motion
Which is this?
for
Yeah.
one spot with the number.
I just want to say the one spot per person, a resident.
and then the rest of them are going to be PRN.
So we have a motion on the floor to give each resident one parking spot by number,
Right.
and then the remainder would be whoever gets there first.
Open parking.
Open parking?
Open parking.
You mean each household, not each resident, each household, one spot.
Yeah, each.
Each household.
Each house would have one spot, right? Each number.
Each household. Can we have a second?
Second. Oh, she already said.
Okay. Any further discussion on this?
Yes. I thought there was another one that looked, there was another one that was actually 2 spots per household, and it still gave plenty of overflow parking for guests or somebody that had 3 cars in their house. I thought that's the one we were leaning towards during the workshop. We were talking about that one. Everybody seemed to be in agreement with that one. I'm just kind of wondering what changed.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing.
No, nothing's changed. There was a motion, internally made a motion for the one spot. I agree with you. I think we have enough room to do 2 spots.
Just one bit, turn quick.
We could put one up the front, we can put one in the rear, give them 2 spots
Right.
by numbers.
Well, I'm confused. We can do the 2. You
We can.
mentioned at the workshop.
Yeah.
I'd go with the 2 then.
Okay, so can we amend your,
I amend the motion.
we'll amend the motion to make it, give each,
Can I just clarify, I'm sitting here
Yeah,
nodding my
yes.
head.
Thank you.
When the entire plan is implemented, there will be more than sufficient parking tanks that each unit may have 2 designated parking spaces.
Right.
It does require some additional parking to be put in, and he laid that out in the plan.
Mhm.
Probably can't be completed until the spring, but yes, there was sufficient in there.
so for now, we might be able to move forward with 1 spot until we get able to get the second
I
spot.
don't think, in my opinion, I don't think you piecemeal it. I think that once everything is put in, then you implement the plan that we're voting on. And it was somewhere around 75,000 for the extra parking. Isn't that what we had talked about?
You're gonna see the enterprise in that ballpark, yes.
It was somewhere in that area, right? Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion for 2 spots.
2 spots.
Can we get you to second that?
Sure.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. It took a while.
You got it.
The button works, at least we going in a direction.
That's what I had, that's all I had.
All right, very good. I had a few things here tonight. The first thing was fresh on my mind, we had Congressman Andy Harris in town yesterday, and it was a really quick visit. He came into the town of Elkton. I think he called us last week and said that he was coming into town. He had an appointment for lunch, which quite frankly, I thought the appointment was with me, and it wasn't. So I showed up after lunch to meet with him, and he had asked me to take him from point A to point B being he had a meeting at 1:30. I'm trying to think of the address, 1:30.
Youth empowerment.
Youth empowerment at 1:30. So we took a real quick tour of 3 or 4 businesses heading to our appointment. It went very well. He seemed to enjoy his visit, and I think he stayed throughout the day, and he attended the health center meeting at 2, and then I think he had something, or we had the dedication for the school, and that was something I didn't attend. So that was the visit with Congressman Harris. This past weekend, we had a lot going on in the town of Elkton. We had the 5K run, and we had 30 or 40 pieces of fire equipment, and I've had some discussion with the chief and the captain. I think what we need to look at moving forward with this, it was, to me, it was a nightmare trying to get into town, and I know it was a nightmare for our residents to move around town. And I've tried to think of multiple solutions, because we are having more events all the time. And I think what we could do is we should probably have these runs, if we're gonna have 5K runs, let's start them at 7 o'clock. If the 5K run starts at 7, they're done by 8:30. It wouldn't affect any business at 8:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning. It won't affect the coffee shops, it won't affect the hair salons, it won't affect the pharmacies. This one that we had this week, it started, I think, at 10 o'clock, and it shut everything down till noontime. And it was, along with all the fire activity that was going on in town, it was a mess. So we don't need to make any motion on any of that, but I think that I'm asking that as they come into our public safety and they want to meet with Lieutenant Waldridge, maybe we can put that in his ear. The second part of that is, when we block the streets off, maybe we're going to require the organization to have the last person walking. Maybe they got to wear a red vest or a green vest, and as soon as that person goes by, it would allow us to open up that street, or hope to open up that street. High Street is just a main artery for our town to get into these businesses. Now, I want to stress that probably the thing that really hurt us the most was the county is doing construction right there at the courthouse, and the little cut through was blocked, and that really caused havoc. And I know it's going to be blocked, well, maybe it won't be blocked this weekend, but it could cause some havoc. So I just wanted to put that in everyone's ear. Captain, maybe you can relay that to the lieutenant.
We've already had discussions on it.
Perfect. I think that would be very important. On Monday evening, Steve Repole, Louis George, and myself met with Singerly Fire Company at one of their board meetings. It was one of the first board meetings I've attended with Singerly Fire Company. We went through and discussed how we calculate the donation we give to Singerly Fire Company, and I think everyone's on the same page of how it works. During our discussion, of course, I brought up that the amount of water that is donated to Singerly Fire Company, the trash services has been donated to Singerly Fire Company, and there was a little bit of feedback that they may be requesting more. So I just wanted to prime the pump a little bit by saying we may receive a letter from the Singerly Fire Company asking for more of a donation in the future. But I thought the meeting went very well. I'm sure that I know staff did a great job presenting the facts and the table to them. So it went very well.
Did they say what more is more?
Not necessarily, but I think that I asked them, we have a deficit in our water audit. I think we've all talked about this time and time again, that we're producing more water than we're billing, and there's a gap there. And part of that gap is there's places that don't have meters, but also I believe a gap is that we don't know how much water is used for fires that we give to the county collectively, and they're going to start to jot that information down for us so that we can have a little bit better auditing process as we move forward. I think that that'll cut that number down dramatically. I'm not looking at any billing to the fire company, but I think it's very important for all of us to know where the water's going. So hopefully we can work that out. But no, they didn't really come up with an amount.
Okay.
They said they were going to handle that with you.
Okay.
All right. Over the weekend, I attended the Elk Landing wine tasting event. It was very nice. They did a nice job of, if anyone hasn't been down there in a while, they've got the rooms really nicely decorated. I thought the venue looked great. I thought it was very nice. So I wanted to thank Elk Landing for hosting that event. It was very, very nice. Attended the Elkton football game Friday night. And I have to say, other than the Elks losing the game, I thought the community came out and really supported the team. And I can tell you they really was appreciative of the efforts that the town has supported them with to try to build back the team spirit and the town spirit and the community spirit. I could feel that vibe all the way through, so I wanted to bring that to the board. They were very pleased about that with everybody.
And on that same note, there was a meeting at the School of Technology on Wednesday night, and they have this advocacy meeting where parents and students and all is trying to have special groups in the schools, and the principal, John Roush, brought that up in the group that often officials are doing a great job at the high school, doing the things that they're doing from the scholarship and the football, and that was very positive.
The only mistake that I made on this was that Route 40 is the dividing line for the high schools, and a good portion of our town actually is Bow Manor Eagles. So everything from the Holly Hall, Elkwood, Kensington Courts, all those residents, they go to Bohemian Manor. So I did get a little plug at me for that, but I thought it was all good. It was all in jest. Lou, I see that on the KCI report, their water report that they produced for us, their Severn Trent water report, it said that the SCADA system needed to be updated.
Yeah, that's, we're working on that because the, Charles Fierro, their regional, Mid-Atlantic regional manager, I've had him talking with the GHD person who's going to update that. And Severn Trent has some ideas about how they want to integrate the SCADA system that's different than originally we had in mind. So they're coordinating that. Since Severn Trent actually runs the plan, I give them latitude to kind of like modify that SCADA system. The SCADA communicates all the different systems together, so one person can sit at a console or so in a control point and then know what all the systems are doing.
Very good.
So that's what the SCADA is. It's a very important part of the plan.
What does something like that cost?
I don't know, 100 grand maybe, you know, maybe.
The I got two more things real quickly, and Dan, I'm going to wait until Chuck has an opportunity. He's going to want to speak tonight. But I wrote down KCI. I just wanted to put in your ear before he asked the question about, I believe that we surveyed the area up around his house, and I'm not sure of any of the details, so I just wanted to prepare you because he's going to ask a couple questions of us, and I don't know the answer, so I'm going to rely on you for those answers. And the last thing that I had was we met with the school board, and that was Lou George, Steve Recole, Gene Minner, a couple weeks ago, and they announced at their board meeting that everything is moving forward of them taking the land over here off of Booth Street and Stockton Street and subdividing it and making a donation to the town of Elkton for what I hope to be is our future rec center. So saying that, I'd like to ask the board and concept, anytime that we, by our charter or by our charter, $10,000 is the magic number that we have to go out on bid with. I think in this situation, I'd like to try to find 3, 4, or 5 qualified companies that could come in and do a turnkey operation for us. Someone that could come in and do the architectural plans, do the ground surveys, put the steel building up, because I picture this as a simple steel building with all the amenities in the inside. And I think that we could find 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 companies that could do that for us, and then we accept their bids on the package that way. I don't think that we need to go out and get an architect to design this. I don't think that we need to go through the land surveyors and do that. I'd like to have one person do it all. So I wanted to see what the board kind of felt with that. How does everyone kind of feel with that?
I'm fine with it because it would move the process a lot quicker. and get something built instead of letting it linger on.
I agree, because we have the property, let's move forward and get the one company to do everything.
DJ, how you feeling?
I'd want to know three things. First of all, what are we going to be offering there? Who's going to run it? And what's the legacy cost of the added personnel? Hopefully the lights, some of that's eaten up by the solar field that we're putting in. But there's a lot more to it than just putting that up. Does it increase our insurance? I want to see the whole kit and caboodle of what we're going to do, and then also the opportunity, if needed, to expand. And then, something like that, can we get closer to a break even? If it's Parks and Rec, I'd like to see it get closer, help us get closer to a break even for a return on investment. Is what I would.
Are you all right with the concept of a one group or?
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Charlie?
I'm in favor of the one concept, yes.
All right. Lou, does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Well, the only complexity I see is you're talking about design build contractor. If you don't have a layout for a contractor to go from, you could have 4 or 3 design build contractors come in and give their interpretation of what you might want, rather than you giving them your interpretation. That would be the only thing, because contractor we put this out to, they wouldn't have any idea about, if you can give them the size, 22,500 square feet, tell them where it is and everything, and you could tell them you want like 2 basketball courts and so many offices and everything, and then they would come in with their concept, and then the board would choose from those companies what concept they want to utilize, and of course you can modify it as you go along, and then get a design build cost, and then choose the best features that you like from a particular contractor at what cost. That's the only thing versus having an architect design it. The design build company will still need to use architectural services, but it's required by law that the building has to be sealed by an architect, so you're still going to have that. Good example is Jeff Nolan built the county building. That's a good example of design build, and he built lots of buildings before and everything.
I would have thought that would be a given, that we would let whoever's going to do this tell them what we want, then they put it together as a package.
That's
Your
what we
point's well
can
taken.
provide a general, I think that Commissioner Van Reenen says the offering is what he's asking. Is it going to be obviously basketball, volleyball, but you have to appeal to youth and older citizens too. It can't be all youthful people, because senior citizens are going to be paying for this, so they'll want to have access to services in that building the same as everyone else. Probably senior citizens or older citizens are going to be paying the bulk of it. So you want to make sure you have programs that are incorporated into this facility that meet their needs too. That way you'll have buy-in from everyone. So
Well, I
you're going to
think-
have to sit down and actually think about what you want to have in this building.
Well,
And
we've
then
done
how
that.
much space do you have to
The previous board has done that, and there was plans. Mary did her wish list that, I don't know how many different times we brought this up. So we kind of know what we really want. But maybe those plans can be seen by Commissioner Van Reenen and Mayor
Yeah, they haven't seen that
to
before.
see if they, what they like in those plans or don't like, or, so we don't have to start from scratch.
No, I don't think you need to start from scratch. We already had an architectural concept plan done.
Yeah, I think the thing that I don't want to see is that this goes from a $750,000 job to a $7 million job. And I think that it won't fly again. It'll be one of those ones that
Exactly.
it'll be sitting here forever. But I do agree that we have to have the performance in place. We have to make sure that it makes sense from a dollar and penny standpoint, and I think we can. Well, good. Maybe we can meet put this on the workshop.
Sure.
And we'll talk about what we want to see into the place, and then maybe at the next meeting, we invite 3 or 4 of these companies, and we tell them what our thoughts are, and let them bring a proposal back to us. I think it sounds good. Now, I can tell you I'm a little bit premature here because we don't even have the land. but I want to be prepared that if they say, yes, here it's yours, then we have to make a decision whether we want to move forward or not. So I'm just trying to put us in that position if we want to move that way. Very good. Well, that's all I had this evening. Commissioner Van Reenen, you were on.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Taking a step back to Buttonwoods, I would like to, whatever the cost is, $75,000, $80,000, $65,000, it really doesn't matter to me. This has been talked about well before I was elected and has been in the vast majority of the board's lap for a long time, so I think we need to move forward with it. I'd like to see that money taken from somewhere else in the budget instead of adding to the budget that we already have. And I'm not making a motion, I'm not making anything like that, but whatever it may be, I'd really like the board's, I'd like to see it taken from somewhere else in the budget to be paid for, that's all. For just a piece of advice, I've done big events before, and a lot of times what happens is the dissemination of information is the biggest problem as far as downtown. There was a lot of people that didn't know about the run and the fire apparatuses. I mean, a ton of people. And I mean, I don't know if everybody knows, but there was a gentleman up at a vendor that I used, Rhino Lines, that was really upset about it, and he's a diehard fire guy, and he had no idea what was going on. So those people that wanted to come down, also business owners, knowing about exactly what's going on, a calendar of events. I'm sure that the Alliance puts that stuff out. But I know as far as a standpoint for me and some of the people I talked to, they didn't know. So if they had an inkling to come downtown, all of a sudden they run into it. And it gets back to what I've said, months and months ago, that we need a better system of disseminating the information that's happening. There's a lot of people that didn't know about the fireworks on Friday night. And that's another concern. We're spending a lot of money, the taxpayers' money, and they need to know. And the circles, and I think that's the biggest problem, is a lot of times that the circles, we all don't run in the same circles. So somehow this town has to have a blanket statement, or hopefully that challenge takes place, or something like that.
Can I say something to that?
Absolutely.
The bit with Saturday, they were not the Alliance or town events. So as far as more information getting to the business community, we had it out, the Alliance did, on what we print out or send out to people, but as far as advertising and everything, that was up to those people that ran those events. So I apologize for that, but that we really didn't know how that was going.
Right.
That was St. Louis Fire Company did their event, and the Walk, they did their event.
Well, that would be, I guess that would be left in the EDC to let everybody know what's going on, and they need to. I don't know the right answer, but I do know that.
I can't pay for advertising for them. So,
I just
we've
see the
spent
biggest problem. Sorry.
probably about $3,000 on advertising just in newspapers for what's coming up this weekend. But, so.
Working with a small budget, I can appreciate and I can relate to. Unfortunately, somewhere, somehow, not only do we need to get that information out, but there's all of these other things. You had a dog walk, which I think was a fantastic idea, and a lot of people showed up to it, from what I understand. There was a lot of people that, in the circles that I run with rescues and stuff, they would have, but it couldn't get out. So somewhere along the line, and we've all complained about this at one point or another, of getting information out. I remember Commissioner Piner talking about, when the trash doesn't get picked up because of a bunch of snow and stuff like that, we need to make stronger strides with the amount of technology that's out there today, where you can take a picture of your check and deposit it, which I've recently learned, instead of actually taking it to the bank. I mean, there's a lot of technology where I think we could utilize. And that's all. There's a few things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to jump back real quick to Lewis. A couple weeks ago, I asked for some information about the cost of annexation and the cost of permits, and I have not received that information, so I'm not sure where the
one of the things we were doing is going to do an analysis of Holly Hall, which you had suggested. But we did a survey of Holly Hall, and the majority of the residents aren't interested in annexing. So, in light that they're not interested in annexing, and we wouldn't do a cost analysis because they aren't annexing.
No, that's actually not what I asked. What I asked
Okay.
was the median income, or the median house, and I think we used $200,000 with the,
What it would cost for median income?
for a median, no, for a house of $200,000. There was a cost association that I supplied a formula that was from Berlin, Maryland, that they use. So then when people were asking me, on Red Hill Road, there's some people on the right-hand side that wanted to be annexed in. I have no idea what the cost is. I can't talk intelligently about it. I can't bring it to the board's attention. I know people talk to the mayor and other commissioners here. We just don't have the proper information to talk of this is how much it's going to cost. That's what I'm looking for. And then also the permits. The other thing with permits is, at some point in time, and I know the mayor has talked about permits, of waiving permits, certain fees, to try to stimulate. And that was also supposed to be given to me and still has not. So I'm not sure, again, what the hang up
I'm not sure how
there is.
you want to do the permit waiving.
Well,
I can't tell you what permits we're going to waive.
I believe it was the square footage if somebody did a deck. I believe it was the top 3 things that I asked for of the permits issued.
And Charles Bromwell, he didn't send you that?
No, sir.
Because I saw something in the email.
No, sir. I saw catch basins from Dan, and I appreciate
I
that.
did
Dan.
receive that from Chip.
Yeah, I had went out to the board and I saw it.
Yeah.
Did not see it. Sorry about that. I saw Dan, but did
I'll
not see
send it
mine.
again because I know it.
It was at least a week ago, maybe 10.
Oh, my apologies.
More than that. It was-
Okay.
Yeah, he calculated that and sent it out.
I will check my spam and find out. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do it again.
I've had a few residents throughout the town ask me, and I've heard a common theme through the last year and a half of grass clippings being picked up, and yes, we're back to the grass thing. And one thing that bothers me, and I've heard, I think every person up here talk about it, to include myself over the last year, is the street sweeper. And I called Steve today and asked him, and it was $3,800 a month is what we pay. We was about $45,000 or so. A year is what we pay them. And the problem, and I can say for my area, this is what happens. And this is, I think, how we can get rid of constituents complaining about when the grass is sucked up and you have wet grass and some of it stuck to the asphalt still. My street sweeper comes on Tuesday. The problem with that is I put my trash out on Monday night. So my trash can's sitting out there on Tuesday morning when they come by, and I cut the grass during the weekend, so my grass is sitting out there, and there's probably 15 feet between those two. The street sweeper comes by on Tuesday. So he has to come in around my grass, around my trash can, to the next guy's house that has a trash can. We need to change the routes. And I know that everybody's talked about this before, and I just don't understand why it's not taken care of. Now, my understanding is that we pay them for, Steve, look, got his calculator out. Use your fingers, man, use your fingers.
The contract calls for them to work at $95 an hour, no greater than 520 hours a year. That's 10
Right.
hours a week.
And I'm not asking them to work any longer. I'm just asking us to come up with a better system. You don't have a street sweeper that goes through your neighborhood? Yeah?
No, they don't go through
They
there's
don't
not
go
enough
to
hours.
neighborhoods.
Okay.
They select where they're gonna go, other than downtown.
You go downtown and then they extend it out.
Okay.
So say I've never had it.
So do they have a dedicated route?
Shouldn't it?
Downtown's the dedicated route, then whatever's left over hours-wise, they'll start picking different neighborhoods and different streets.
Can we set up as far as whatever neighborhood, so that they go on a rotation, I guess. This week it's Chapel Run, next week it's Kensington Courts, the following week it's somebody else, I'm assuming, or daily, whatever the case may be. Somebody needs to alert them that, hey, instead of you coming to that area, we have trash cans and we have grass clippings that we're picking up on Tuesday, wait until Wednesday. Or if we're picking it up on Wednesday, wait until Thursday. It shouldn't be that hard. And this way, at least for me, and I've heard other people complain about this, that just seems so much easier to me.
You have it for what, 10 hours a week?
9 years.
Really? I
Never.
think I tell you
9
what, I
years
get it
I've
a
never
lot.
done it.
Right, you have 10 hours a week, that's it. They do
10
that.
hours a week and 52 weeks,
Yeah,
520
52
hours a
weeks.
year.
And they start jumping around What we discovered, we start changing people's.
Does anybody say
routine.
anything to you?
No, it comes right more rural because that's where he's got it pretty much dedicated.
And we've heard about the limbs still laying, or the chipper comes by, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of chips laying down there, and we've asked DPW to sweep it up and stuff. Well, instead of them sweeping it up and wasting time, the street sweepers want to be there the next day. It's a small, it's a small thing. Going back to the, in discussing the budget, there was different things that were that said would happen once the budget is passed, and one of those things is employee evaluations. And I was against the 5% salary increase to everybody because there wasn't evaluations, and I was told that those evaluations would start immediately after the budget was passed, and I have not heard of anything of that happening at all. So my next question, of course, would be, when are those evaluations starting?
They did start, but they haven't been completed.
When did they start?
I did Gene Minner, for example, I did Gene Minner's about a month ago, but I still have the other, I have the department managers, I don't do the individuals. So we're having a staff meeting tomorrow, and I'll be able to let you know.
I appreciate that.
Police automatically do it.
Yeah, they do it twice a year, right, Captain?
Twice a year.
Thank you. There's one thing that a couple people have talked to me about, and I'm unaware if anybody else has seen it on the internet again, but somebody else has come out with Elkton as #1 in crime. Now I know that what's the old saying that 72% of statistics are statistics. Look, I don't know how they got there, and this is somebody independent from what it was last year. My problem is that we're in the top 10 no matter where you look or turn. And what I would like from the police department to help myself and hopefully the board is a quarterly report of where we stand, what direction we're heading. So this way, when people are asking me, because everything on the internet is real, of course. So I would like real time, real actual facts of this is what's going
I believe
down.
Lieutenant Waldridge sends out a monthly report.
Yeah, and I have to say, and if you don't mind,
Sure.
EPD's Facebook page has been
It's great.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay. I
And
haven't looked
if
at
you
that.
look up that Elkton, what people are saying, please, and if you don't mind, if you could say it, in less words or whatever.
I actually,
Captain Zarolo put out something on our Facebook page that tells you exactly what that is. He did a fantastic job. Not, if he wasn't sitting here, I would say the same thing. And share that with everyone, because there's reasons behind that people do it. And he did write out a terrific thing.
Is that the one that was about 6 or 8 months ago?
yeah.
There's a new one. Of course, and it's totally somebody different. I don't know if they're conservatives. I don't know if they're liberals. I really don't care. What I'm tired of seeing is Elkton shown in that light. I don't like where all of a sudden it says Elkton in any newspaper, and it's really not. It's Elkton, but it's not downtown Elkton. I hate
Right.
that. The crime happened in Perryville, but they were brought to Elkton, and all of a sudden it says Elkton. And again, it's perception. The last thing I want to do is to perpetuate this perception.
It is perception, and I also have started a weekly report on the Facebook page that gives notable events, arrest statistics, citation statistics, so you can take a look at that also on a weekly, every Thursday.
Is there an annual or a semi-annual graph, be it pie or anything else
Again, I
that
know
shows?
Lieutenant Wooldridge, I thought he sent it out to the entire board. He sent out a monthly report
He does.
that breaks
And
down.
it shows the graph up and down? I haven't seen that. No. All
Well,
right, I'll get with
I
Lieutenant
could address
tomorrow.
somewhat of the statistic thing. There also is a response on our Facebook page. I responded 8 or 9 months ago. You have to be very careful with statistics because they're based on UCR. But what happens is, like in our community, we have an extremely proactive police department.
Sure.
And that causes our statistics to be high. Also, what causes our statistics to be higher is our public is sensitive to crime, more sensitive than, say, to Baltimore City. You'll have neighborhoods in Baltimore City that, if it ain't a homicide, they ain't calling the police. Where here, our #1 crime is a theft. misdemeanor theft, because everyone's very sensitive to crime. So your statistics are going to be higher just because of those two things, that people tend to report crime more, and you have a very aggressive police department that's going out there and taking enforcement action. So it creates higher numbers, relatively speaking, to like a city or an area that doesn't report as much, or doesn't, like right now, they have work stoppage down in Baltimore City. They're not really being that active. They're just reactive for calls for service. If you go to the Facebook page, and I can even send it to you, I give a real lengthy breakdown, and even UCR.
That was the one a while ago, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I read that, absolutely.
Okay. And they caution against any kind of comparisons with other jurisdictions, just because you have to take demographics into account, how people are sensitive to crime, the aggressiveness or active, how active your police department is, et cetera. So there's a lot more elements, and it's a very complex thing to do a proper crime analysis. And I'm sure the ones who are putting it out they're not trained crime analysis people.
Don't disagree with you. Thank you.
I'd have to say, just real quickly, we made a conscious decision to start posting our results on social media maybe 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been about
2 months.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, the response has been phenomenal, and we're actually posting mugshots every day. We're posting 4, 5, 6 mugshots of people we arrest.
Good.
And it's a shame that you see some of these criminals that we arrest. One guy, for example, he's been arrested 5 times in the last 10 days. And
A great example of that.
7 times.
7 times?
Another great example of that, the amount of arrests we do and the amount of people that get rearrested. I don't know if you remember, about a month ago, we actually caught the individual that mugged the elderly woman up in Cole's parking lot and severely beat her. Well, we went and looked in our records, and just the Elkton Police Department, have locked him up over 60 times. So,
60.
60 times, and that's just the Elkton Police Department. So it's not, and I keep saying this to everyone that I talk to, it's not a lack of enforcement. Our guys make 20, 25 arrests a week. You get 1,500 arrests a year in this town. We handle close to 30,000 calls for service.
You know, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Actually, I think it was Mr. Litzenberg. Somebody came up, or maybe it was Mr. Lemon, and I've heard a couple other people talk about all the mayors and the state's attorney, or that was you, right? And the attorney getting with the state's attorney and really turning up the heat. I mean, how do we make that happen?
You can't.
I mean, really?
They're bound by rules of procedure and law in courts. You can't use civilian authority to impress upon the court system what they should or shouldn't do. It's actually set by statute. So, I mean, you can have a public opinion.
60 times, I mean, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely pathetic. You know, that somebody then is out in our neighborhood, and I mean, there's not one, there's a ton. I mean, I know of a DEA raid, you know, what, 3.5 weeks ago. You know, I mean, that's crazy. You know, how do we, and I think the loitering law that we started with, and the mayor's right, in the workshop the other day, you know, that's a start. I absolutely agree. You know, how do we get enough, or enough bite, you know, forget the bark, where's the bite? You know, and again, I'm coming into this a year of not being in the political world where I can't do anything and say anything I want, but I pretty much can in the private sector. You know, and this is ridiculous. You know, I mean, we got people that were here a year ago talking about their sheds getting broken into. They're coming back to me and say, hey, my shed's still getting broken into because the homeless are still down there. You know, I mean, what do we do about this? There's got to be something. We can't just throw our hands up and say, I'm not doing anything. We've got to do something.
We make 1,500 arrests a year, so they are doing something.
It's not.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they're not doing their job by arresting people. I mean, where can we make it even more difficult on the people, and seriously, I mean, I read this thing from MML, and, talked about community policing and getting involved and having one person in that particular neighborhood that you and that person, or the police officer, and that individual goes and handles situations and stuff like that. I mean, so there's other communities that have had pretty bad crime rates that are making the turn. And I'm not saying that our police department doesn't work their butt off. Obviously they do. I'm just saying, how do we make it even easier for them to make it more difficult on the other people out there? And maybe, I mean, obviously I'm saying the same thing that somebody else sat in this seat a year ago was probably saying, and 4 years prior to that, and sit to my
Well, from a
left.
public safety standpoint and law enforcement standpoint, we're on the right track. I mean, we're doing the right things. As soon as we get up in manpower, there's more that we can do, and there's more operations that we can implement. But unfortunately, right now, and we're performing at a very high level with what we have, but we're robbing Peter to pay Paul a lot of
Right.
times. I can tell you that myself and the chief are in conversations that once we get up to full strength, there's different operations that we want to implement that I think they're going to fall right in line with what you're talking about, where you've got an officer in the neighborhood and they know that neighborhood, it's
Right.
problem-oriented policing. That's exactly what you do. It's data-driven. So you read your data, you see where your hot spots are, your target enforcement zones are, and that's where you deploy your personnel. I think that hopefully eventually when we get up to full strength, that maybe we can create a unit that's actually what they do, and a saturation patrol unit.
Right.
Where when we have an issue and it's a hotspot, and the hotspot might be, this month might be West Main Street, and you deploy a whole unit of 5 or 6 men, and that's where they operate. They're not responsible for calls, they're just responsible to be really high performance, high aggressive, no tolerance approach, and like I've said in the past, you just make it very unwelcome for the criminal element. I mean, that's all on the table that we're discussing right now. Unfortunately, it's just very difficult to find quality people to hire right now. I think the byproduct of what you're seeing in the media of the anti-police sentiment is kind of affecting us being able to find quality people to hire. And hopefully that pendulum is going to swing back the other way. I believe it will. The good thing about what's been occurring is you are starting to get some positive debate where people are coming out and saying, wait a minute, we support the police are a positive thing, you need the police in your community. So without being on my soapbox, I think we're going to get there. We're performing at a high level, and as soon as we get some more men, we'll be able to do some more things that you'll see, I think, a real good impact for the community in a public safety sense.
All right, thank you, Gary. Two more things. Lewis, I saw the State Highway Administration bad news about the pedestrian walkway. Is there anything at all? If we raised that 1 inch, I mean, is there anything at all? I just have a hard time believing that the state, I know the state is somewhat handcuffed by FEMA. I mean, the people that walk across that bridge, I mean, it truly is a public safety nightmare. I mean, there's got to be something somewhere. I mean, they're talking about 0.01. 0.01, that's nothing. Can we submit a plan as far as raising the bridge an inch, the pedestrian bridge an inch?
The question is, should be asked that, do we want to do the design and then submit it to the state highway for review versus them doing the design? Their design resulted in the 0.01 foot increase in the flood elevation with the addition of that bridge, which is, since it's a floodway, can't put structure there. So the option would be for the towns to have an engineer design it and see if it's any different. Now, the advantage we would have is we could use their information and just rerun the model, so to speak, and confirm it. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, is that I don't know how many times that they ran a model to find this 0.01 foot flood elevation.
Right.
So when I talked to Jason Ridgway, he's the director of highway development, I suggested that we would have our engineer look at it and see if they came to the same conclusion, and if they did, you know, then we're kind of sunk. But if they came up with an option that's different, then State Highway could give that consideration. But we would need to know the design.
We can't just ask them to come up with a different model, or ask them to raise
No, they've
their
already
model
done,
with
they've done
inch.
all their models.
Even if they
That's
raise
all
it in-
They did, they've been doing preliminary work on this project for 2 years, you know, so I think that
Doesn't make sense.
ask them to do it again wouldn't make any difference, but it's up to the board.
What do you recommend?
I would like to have our engineer, look at it, tell you the truth. I wouldn't like to give up on the first blush, so to speak.
Well, let's do it. You guys all right with that?
Because they've already done the design, and they probably have the model and the hex study and everything else. So our guys wouldn't have to do it from scratch, they would just call for that information and
Just
and run it
piggyback.
again.
Listen,
That's
it's
it.
the most dangerous bridge in the country, in
It's
my view.
awful, and there's more people walking every day, all
Oh,
hours
it's
of
a
the
terrible
day.
place, that's why we've been asking them to change it. Okay, I'll take care of it.
Thank
All
you.
right. And the last thing I want to point out, there's been a, I don't have that information with me. There was something brought to my attention. When we talked about in the budget about ordering 5-ton trucks, I know that the director, Lewis and Rob, I'm assuming you're aware of the floorboards that have to be replaced in one of them.
I'm aware.
And I went down and I had took some pictures. So I'll pass them out to the board so they can see what's going on. And this is the 2001 Sterling that has to be replaced for one reason or another. Parts are hard, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, parts are hard to find for it. Something about wiring or something like that. It's just, they did
International.
That one's the international?
Yes.
So that one's the international, meaning that parts are easy to get for it and.
You still make them, that's the difference.
They make them, okay. So the problem I have with that right there is it's a 14-year-old vehicle. And I'm in the car industry. That should not happen to anything. That means that there is something gravely wrong that is rusted out that way. And I don't know exactly why, how, who do you go back to, and, but I'd like to have review the policies and procedures of why that would rust out that way. How often are we washing them? What exactly is going on? Who was responsible for that? Who was in there? Who didn't wash? So on and so forth. Because if we're going to order, what do we order? $250,000 worth of trucks, right? I think that's what it is. I could be wrong. Maybe it's $200,000, somewhere around in that area.
Is that a salt truck? I mean, do
Yeah.
we push through with that?
Yeah, salt truck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, so.
So, and I typically do my due diligence, so I've talked to Middletown, and I've talked to Hackney Grace and Aberdeen. And, a lot of them have very old trucks that do not look anything like that at all. So obviously, we're doing something wrong. And again, this is not, I'm not trying to take personal shots at anybody. What I'm trying to do is correct the problem to make sure that we are not spending or just wasteful spending of taxpayers' money.
Is that the only thing wrong with that truck is in floorboards?
And the frame.
Essentially, yes, I mean, it's.
And flame.
And the frame. It's gonna have to be replaced, it does. It really does.
We're not replacing the truck, we're replacing the floorboards.
Yes.
Ed's rebuilding them.
Yes.
We are replacing that truck next year though, right?
I don't know.
No.
He's down there putting all new floorboards in it.
How many miles is on that truck?
53,000.
I'm sorry?
53.
I think the engine, this is 13, I think. Is this 13? I think this is
Yeah, 13, yeah.
Yeah, he's down there putting the new thing in.
So anyhow, that, again, I've talked to the people that do the snow at the dealership and stuff, and asked them about hours on their vehicle and what exactly they do, and I didn't tell him who that was or what that was when I talked to my guy, and no way should anything like that happen. So again, whatever the policy and procedure is, I would just like to see it. It's just wasteful in my opinion.
You know, Dan, just real quickly, I know the police department has a lieutenant that goes out and inspects the vehicles, I guess every day. Do you guys do an inspection every day of the vehicle?
Our guys are required to, especially if it's a non-take-home car, they're required to inspect the whole.
And I think that what we could do is if we put something in place that your foremans, I think you got everything segmented out now, that your foreman or your fleet manager would inspect every one of those vehicles every day.
The CDL drivers have a pre-trip and post-trip checklist. They actually check out for the major stops, so.
Okay.
If it's something simple, that's why they check the fluids, check all this stuff. So the stuff underneath, you know, the driver. So.
Well, my understanding is you're supposed to be checking the lawnmowers and any truck daily that goes out, and there's supposed to be a log that's submitted with that. And that actually isn't from me, that's from former people, or maybe even prior to you and I, that policy is supposed to be set up.
That's still there.
Obviously, it's not, I don't know if it's being followed or not. I mean, by the picture, it doesn't look like it is, but there should be some type of documentation to find out if it is or isn't, to include anything else that happens down there if something gets wrecked. So that's all I'm asking for, is just for the records, that's all, and the policy and procedure.
Okay.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Charlie?
The guy that got arrested 60 times called me up, so somewhere in his family line, he must be related to me, but no. He's where he needs to be, in jail, and most people who know him have said the same thing. They cannot understand how someone couldn't be arrested that many times, but I do believe it. Also, piggybacking on what DJ said about the social media, there was a VFW Kiddies Carnival on Saturday. I know Rob sent us text. I made it. I don't know if anybody else made it, but Earl, you made it also. And he said it should have been on our Facebook. It was.
It was posted to our website, and what I was doing was, throughout the past couple of weeks, I send out that email update, same one, I keep sending it out, and then Amanda posted to our Facebook.
So I agree with you. Anything that happens in the town of Elkton should be channeled through, so we know what's going on.
Well, Steve, can, on the water bills, that's a impact printer, dot matrix impact printer, is that what it is?
That's correct.
Is there any way that we could program that to print harder the town's website? To make it more bold is what I'm thinking. I'm familiar with dot matrix, and I know it's going to be hard depending on what you have, but that would be, I mean, everybody gets a water bill, right? And they all look at the water bill, so if you put that, you know, all information for the town of Elkton, and then boom, the website, something like that.
There is,
Just a thought.
because we eliminated the rate structure on water bills, which was a pre-printed part of the bills we ordered.
Sure.
There is, actually 17, 9, and 30 characters. There's a field that we can put on the message.
Okay. I mean, if we could talk about that at a later date, I don't want to take up the commissioner's time.
Yeah, there's space available.
Then Stockton Street, there's some furniture, I believe, at 117. I don't know if someone was put out. It is definitely unsightly. I know the Board of Education employees go through Stockton Street. There's visitors coming to Elkton that's visiting the Board of Education. It looks bad. Have you seen it?
No.
When you go into where the Board of Education sits to the left, it's the last apartment house. As a matter of fact, the town is doing some work right in that general spot, but there's a lot of furniture. So I assume it's going to be there because the trash pickup has already taken place. And I don't know whose responsibility it is to pick that up. But it's very, 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 very unsightly. And that's what they see when they come to work in the morning. And I know it may be the responsibility of the homeowner, but it's like DJ and everybody else is saying, this is the town of Elkton, so I guess we try to make things look good as much as we can. There was a bike patrol out today. Anybody see the guy riding on a bicycle? Or we did? See the bike?
No.
Right. That was just the one.
Yeah, we have a schedule all the way through October, bike patrol schedule, in the, basically downtown area, hospital, college, down West Main Street, varying times. So again, it gives the illusion of an omnipresence when you can't be predictable. That's in conjunction with the various operation saturation patrols that we have, which I've extended. It's not only it doesn't just include Hollywood Merit this time, it includes West Main Street and Douglas Street area this time also. So they're working in conjunction with each other.
How How many bike patrols do you have in Hollingsworth Manor?
We haven't been doing bike patrol in Hollingsworth Manor. We've been doing Operation Saturation Patrol in
Just
Hollingsworth
cars?
Manor. Yes.
All right.
Also, over the weekend, I know my church hosted 60 churches. They thanked you for the proclamation. Also, there was an expert there in, I guess, criminal offenses, and the chief, the captain, and the lieutenant attended, and he was very good when it came to active shooting. Not only did he talk about why the situation happened, most recently when all the people got shot, but he also talked about, occurrences that can happen here, not just in churches, but businesses as well. So, again, thank you for coming. Hope you learned something from that.
It was a pleasure, it really was. Thank you.
School of Technology, we were there yesterday, a few of us were, and I hope that many of you get the opportunity to go there when there's an open house. It's a model school for the state of Maryland. It's a beautiful facility, and you can see where your tax dollar goes, for the most part. And Chief, why do you think there's so much pedestrian? That's just a loaded question. There's an awful lot of traffic, pedestrian that walks Bridge Street. I guess it comes from all over. If you sit down at the farmer's market, you see people walking this way. You see people walking Bridge Street. You see people walking from High Street. You just see a lot of people walking. I know they feed the homeless, if you want to call it that, on Bridge Street, but it's just a constant thing. And I think it's not a problem, but it's something that I guess we need to look at.
Well, fortunately, we haven't had any accidents involving pedestrians.
True,
That's
that's a
a
good
positive point. I think it has something, it probably does have something to do with feeding the homeless in that area. I know there's buses that come up and drop some people off.
And I don't know if society has taken the option now to be more walkers than they are riders, but certainly you see a lot of people walking.
And this time of year, of the warmer weather, you'll tend to see more walkers. I think as the cooler weather approaches, you'll see less walkers.
And that's it.
Thank you, Charlie. Commissioner Kleiner?
Hey. I just had a couple of things to report back for the Parks and Rec. Soccer program's going along well as far as our dance programs. Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest programs the town has right now. We all know, the weather's been great, so they've been able to get the activities in. So that's one good thing. I'm not sure how we're doing with the employee of the month. Have you heard anything else on how?
First quarter's not over.
As far as like getting applications in, have we been getting them come in?
Actually, I think we do have one already.
Just one, that was from last year.
That's it.
I got the one.
We can't pay people.
No, I just wanted to know if anybody's.
They have to do it,
yeah.
but we don't tell them.
I just said, I don't know how we're doing as far as.
I know we
the
have
last
one, I had a discussion
It's
with.
gonna win, no
Okay.
guarantee.
So, and like Commissioner Givens said, some people may have noticed the bike patrol. I noticed that down at the Meadow Park today, and I was really glad to see it. Yeah,
That's good.
so, other than that, everything's looking good.
Commissioner Jablonski?
Okay, I wanted to start with the downtown street lights. Lewis is moving forward. He has a meeting tomorrow with American Energy, and we'll be voting on this at our October 7th meeting. Mr. Lemon did want to know about that, and I will make sure I email him in the morning. So I'm really excited about that project because you can really see the difference with those two lights that are on the corner right now. Also, I did attend as well the Landing event. Very, very nice. I highly recommend people going to see the house now that it's painted and new furniture. It's beautiful. Also, tomorrow is the final music on Main, and Commissioner Gibbons' church is there, Rights AME. Please come out and support them. It's always a nice night out there when they're there. And this week is Fall Fest weekend. Everyone has a shirt in front of you. If it is not the correct size, please stop by at our booth and exchange it for what size you need. We kind of just guessed. And as far as publicizing the events, I do want to say our social media, I just had a report today on Facebook. We're over 4,000 people liking and sharing everything we put out there. So if you do see it, like it and share, and that's the way we could pass on all the information to the town. The What's Happening we do every week that goes out, there's more and more people signing up for it. That has everyone that sends us what they're doing, we put that out there. So we had 5 weeks of paid advertisement at the quarter page in
Yes.
oh my gosh. In the Cecil Wig and also the Guardian the last 5 weeks. So we did promote as much as possible. And I should have to call our people right away. I'll be darned. The mayor just really messed me up.
Yeah, I see it.
Also, please go on elktonfallfest.com. Our Saturday night, the entertainment's great this weekend, but Saturday night it is a Neil Diamond tribute show, The Real Diamond. When you listen to it, he is amazing. He goes to places all over the country. You will think you're listening to The Real Neil Diamond. 12-piece band, backup, everything. And I don't know if we're still going to do it with the time, but we were going to test a firework tonight. Are we still going to do that, or to see where you can actually see it in town so we will know for the future? Kind of split us all up in different places. Are you still okay to do that?
I'm fine. Whatever you guys-
Dan, you're good? Okay. So, and that's it. Oh, I did have one other thing. I met with someone from Washington College. She's an environmentalist, and they would like to do, and she's also with Shore Power. They would like to do an audit for the next 3 years of the town of Elkton. We're putting in the solar farm. They would see how much money we're saving in different places, where we can save. It's no cost. It's funded by the Town Creek Foundation. And if you'd like, she could come to one of our workshops and tell you about it. But I think it's a great program. If you're interested
Yeah,
in having her at a workshop, if
You'd be
Michelle.
crazy not to entertain her.
Okay. That's it.
All right, very good. All right, this is the time we open up the floor for the public, and I have the first person, he didn't sign in, but I know he wanted to speak first, was Chuck. He came up to me before Dawn and Brittany came up. But Chuck, did you want to say a few things or ask a question or two? You want me to just have Dan handle it with you tomorrow?
It's been over a year. I gotta hand it to the town. They have done something. What they've done is sufficient for getting from Wesley Street back to the problem area. Unfortunately, if I want to use that, I have to ask my neighbors to move their cars because they have taken that over as parking. And my big question tonight of everybody is, the rumor has it that we can't figure out who owns the property in between the Wesley Street properties and the Maryland Avenue properties. That's why the town hasn't made the turn that the maps and everything show as deeded right away. Now, I did have Mayor Alt out. We took a measurement and everything, and using the land plots of the people behind me on Maryland Avenue, Alan Liz Renwick, their old house is beside me, so I have that land plot. I have my land plot and their neighbor about there, and I can't remember his name right now. So when we do all the measuring and everything, not only is there a 15-foot right-of-way, which according to the maps is supposed to be there, but somehow there's 23 additional feet that that none of the homeowners know where it's supposed, who's supposed to own it. So my question is, if there's 38 feet in there that nobody knows who owns it, then can I claim it? I mean, what's going on? Another thing that I'd like to point out is, I said a year ago that I've been paying to park vehicles off-site because I can't get them into the back of my yard because it's so wet and everything. I'm still paying that a year later, $60 a month. And if I'm not getting the same amenities that people on the other side of the community have, even though they're supposed to be there, why are my taxes the same? So it's costing me money. The fact that the town is not doing what I feel should be done.
Dan, can we get this resolved tomorrow, one way or the other? Let's put this thing to bed. I was told that I wasn't told, but I believe that KCI came out and did a survey, and I'm not 100% sure what the outcome was, but we kind of stopped what we were doing because we found out it might be private property. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So just get with Chuck and let's square all that up tomorrow.
We'll address.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck. Miss Dawn and Brittany Schwartz, come on down if you'd like. 254 East Main Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Many of you know me, my family, that we're very invested in the town of Elkton. In fact, we have 23 in-town properties, but more importantly, we care about this town. And it goes deeper than just financially. I am myself in the 5th generation that's chosen to make a home and live here. I've kept reasonably quiet about some of the things that have been happening in downtown Elkton. Past 2 months alone, we've had some pretty serious issues happen at our property at 132 West Main, which has the flower shop, drugs, prostitutes. Most recently, Saturday, we had a malicious destruction of property, which resulted in a fire. It's caused $50,000 worth of damages. Thankfully, a lot to the Elkton police. They were the first on the scene, and in fact, Singerly even credited them for keeping the fire contained. And I was very pleased tonight to hear a lot of policy changes. I feel like that, as a town, we need to grow with the community with policy changes, and I hope to see more of those in the future. The loitering law makes me ecstatic. I know Michelle's working very hard on the farmer's market. That's a huge thorn in my side. Just constant foot traffic there, and I'm just very pleased to hear tonight. I came in a little upset tonight, but this really calmed me down to hear that there's active policy changes being made. We need to keep that momentum going. It needs to keep going. I want more. We need to change the community and help these guys police better. They need policies like this loitering law in place to keep making effective change. And I think that's important. And I'm pleased to see it, and I want to see more of it.
Thank you.
I was a little late, I was at a funeral, so I'm sorry. So I didn't hear some of the changes. But I want to thank the Elkton Police Department. They were on the ball. They contained my fire, used 4 fire extinguishers. They have come back after Officer Connolly, who was here earlier, Conifer, came Saturday morning, asked if everything is okay. Captain Zerillo has been in constant contact with Brittany. Every morning I see a police officer out there, and I appreciate that. And I've talked to you, Mayor, and I've talked to you, George, about how I was treated. And let me tell you, I am working as hard as I can, and as fast as I can. I want to keep things quiet. Elkton does not need any more negative, trust me. But, that being said, I talked to my insurance adjuster this morning. I don't need a fence. I don't need some of the other things that our town building inspector insisted that I have done right then and there. I don't appreciate the way I was talked to. My daughter, actually the way my daughter was talked to. I don't like the fact that he hung up on her. And if he's that busy of a person, because trust me, we all are busy people. Maybe we need someone to help him, because he seems like an awfully busy person. But I appreciate Elkton Police Department. I appreciate Singerly. And I have talked, and I hope to never have to talk again, but the fire chief, fabulous, has seen me every day. Perfect. The only disappointment, and we've talked about this, and I'm glad he apologized to you. But when he talked to my daughter in front of other business people, expecting offense that night, I have 12 pillars that are 15 inches wide by 10 feet. That building is very secure. I don't need offense. Don't appreciate things, talk to. And again, we are working as quickly as we can. It's my life, it's 10 other people's livelihood. And I do appreciate everybody coming by, talking. The police have been fabulous. We gotta talk. You want more?
I hear you loud and clear.
I didn't represent the town well. Did not. You have Elkton justice. And I do have a big financial on the town. And I want the future. My daughter's 5th generation. She has some plans. We need some backing, please.
Thank you. Okay, no one else has signed up, but does anyone, come on down, Mr.
I'll just speak
Linsenberg.
from back here, you can hear me from back here.
All
Just
right.
got a couple of things.
Walnut
I'm
Lane.
talking about the home furnishings and so on and so forth. Years ago, when I owned a lot of properties in Elkton, Jim Kraus was the mayor, and if you had somebody move out, you could you could get a truck from the town after work, put your debris in the truck, the next morning the town would take it up and they would leave.
You're right.
The town would do that. That goes way back. That's just a statement. Are you waiving any inspection fees for the Board of Education for the school up here?
There will
For
be.
exchange for the property?
What we're doing, to clarify that, the school board is getting a value of the land, and then there will be a exchange for fees for Gilpin Manor. The fortunate thing that we have going for us is we calculated there probably won't be many fees for Gilpin because they get all the credits from the old school as they move over, and they're aware of that also.
Okay.
So I don't want to say we'll have to be, well, we have to see how it all turns out from the calculations, but there will be an exchange.
The billing for nonprofit for the water, it was suggested a while back that they would pay anything over the 9,000 gallons. Has that been discussed anymore with these nonprofits?
Now, we had, at our workshop, I guess we discussed a little bit of it at the workshop, and we're going to bring it up at the next one. We've identified 180 nonprofits.
In Elkton?
Yes. 180 nonprofits, and,
We don't know if they're all property.
well, we don't know if they're all property owners. I want to clarify, or owning of the property. But, and I don't think that we're 100% sure they were in the actual Elkton proper yet.
Okay.
But believe me, I'm not giving 180, I mean, it would be, I may open up a big can of worms here.
Well, I'm going to become nonprofit.
Yes.
Hey, my water bill reduced about $4.99, not 12%, that you were promising a long time ago. The economic development money, I don't have the budget with me, but it's what, $200,000, something like that?
There was $100,000 that was
Okay.
designated for the Elkton Alliance, and then $100,000 for other economic development items.
Okay. Well, if you're doing that with somebody paying for their lease and so forth, what would happen to Mr. Nicholson? Say if he had a bad situation with his 2 properties there, which he's been paying taxes on all these years, would you come and bail him out for his taxes and his water bill?
I
I mean,
wouldn't-
this is just a
Yeah.
you know, with that money.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. But on the other hand, you're paying rent for somebody else with the town's money.
We secured a property, and it was a decision that I think, in my opinion, had to be made, and we made it.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say? Mr. Ginder,
I'll stay here.
what's your address? Hunter Place.
Hunter Place. The planning commission met with the Board of Education last night. I just wanted to pass information along. The architectural renderings of this building is going to be one hell of an addition to the town of Elkton. It's beautiful, and it's going to be a good addition.
Yeah, we saw it over there the other day. It's wonderful.
Yes, yes, beautiful building.
Anyone else have anything to say tonight? Seeing none, this meeting, yes, sir. Your name again?
Michael Budenka,
Your address, Michael?
217 Highland Drive,
Okay.
Elkton. On behalf of Jackie Sullivan from God We Trust America and myself, I would like to thank you for your proclamation. I don't know if I mentioned when I initially proposed this that a lot of people don't have any trust in our politicians anymore. I think I mentioned that at a national scale, the front runners in the polls are all non-politicians. And I just wanted to say that I've learned a lot from the meetings I've been coming to. I'm impressed with each one of you that you're doing the right thing for the public, and I thank you for the proclamation.
Thank you. Please continue to come.
Thank you.
Anyone else? This meeting is adjourned.